The main beliefs about Rastafari is, if you look in Genesis chapter 2, you will find that the beginning of creation is actually in Africa. So you find that God himself started creating in Africa through the revelations of Genesis chapter 2, verse 1 to 14. It actually tells you about the 4 rivers which surrounded the Garden of Eden. The river Euphrates, the river Gihon, the river Cush, and the river Tigris. And if you look at those 4 rivers, you will realize that all those rivers are actually the 4 rivers that surround Ethiopia, which would make Ethiopia the Garden of Eden. Selassie. We also accept Emperor Haile Selassie as the Almighty God.
So what difference does being a Rasta make for everyday life? What changes
everyday life is the upliftment, you see, because we are different in the things that we do, we are different in the things that we practice, we are different in the beliefs, in the terms that we believe in black supremacy. We don't say that the white people are not superior or that white people are no good, but we say that the first and superior race is the black people. And we are the people who are trying to bring the pride back into the black people. So the everyday life of a Rastafari is to make sure that you are good to your brother, you love your brother. The first and great commandment is to love. Holy Manuel Selassie. Jah Rastafari, my Lord.
Can you tell me about the turban?
Yes, my Lord. You see, the turban is what was given to the priests. If you look in Exodus, they tell you about the consecrating of the priests. So, which means this is basically now the dreadlock is a Nazarite vow. So it is our vow to God. Just like you would have a ring when you married your wife, that ring would actually show that you are married. So the vow actually shows that I'm married to God. I've given my life to God. This is the dreadlock. Now the turban is being given to the priest in order to cover that vow and keep that vow holy.
And how did you become Rasta?
You know, it's quite strange. It's quite strange because the influence that I got was not from Africa. Because you see, I first knew what Rastafari was really about when I went overseas, you see. So, because the stigma that Rastafari had in Africa was that they were big marijuana smokers and they were not good for anything and they were dirty, eating, washing, that sort of thing. So when I went overseas, I actually realized that no, Rastafari is actually a way of life and not a fashion statement or a style.
So where did you go? Can you talk about that?
Well, meeting the couple of Rastas that I worked with when I was in Sydney, because I worked at a Caribbean restaurant over there, and I met a couple of Rastas who actually came from Barbados and the West Indies and the Caribbean. And that's where Rastafari, the most orthodox Rastafarians would live, is in Jamaica. Not because Rastafari started in Jamaica, Rastafari started in Africa, but because of the slave trade, a lot of slaves were carried to Jamaica in the Western world.
So tell me about when you met these Rastas in Australia, was it?
Yeah.
You were working in the Caribbean.
When I was working at the Caribbean.
So what happened at that? How did it develop?
Well, you see, at that time it was all about. I'll be honest and say it was all about Bob Marley. You see, I used to listen to reggae music, and it was a form of being in a Western country, trying to find an identity as an African. The closest music I could listen other than hip hop was reggae, and I got into Bob Marley, and I heard some of the message that he had, and I actually asked more about Rastafari and Haile Selassie. And I mean, I'd been in Africa all my life, but I'd never heard of Haile Selassie until I got to Australia, from a white Australian who told me about Haile Selassie. You know, that's Bobo Joshua. You know, so it's like I say, I got the light, and like the Bible will say, seek and you shall find. And I started seeking, and I found the life, you know. That will be the too good reading, is the one too reading, you know. Too good. It's the 1-2 rhythm is the 2 good rhythm. This song is about repatriation because we're calling all our brothers who are in the Western world, all over Australia, all over Japan, all over those places of Canada, places of America. We're calling all our brethren to repatriate physically and spiritually into Africa because Africa has been liberated. Black Liberation Day is the name of this chant. Holy Emmanuel, King Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, must be when Africa is free.
April 1968, the king was assassinated. Dr. Martin